All right. Thank you for the show. What do you think? Should we get started or should we wait a little bit for people to get on? All right, we'll get started. Let me use my phone here. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Coach's Corner. We've got another Pennsic. This is 20, 23, 24. Is this the fourth Pennsic since our little break back in 20 and 21? I think it is. Anyway, we're going to bring forth all the wonderful news about the point battles this Pennsic. If you have any specific questions, please feel free to add into the comment section as well, any comments, or if you just want to compliment us on our good looks, that always goes over well. So anyway, speaking of good looking, below me, Teagn thought it was going to be her. Below me, I have, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Louie from Mid-Realm, and happy to be here today to talk about some Pennsic stuff.
All right, awesome. And Louie, you've actually been king at Pennsic before, right?
Correct, 2 years ago.
All right, there you go. Yes, you were an evil king that year. No, I'm kidding. He was awesome, but he was on the bad team. He was on the other team. We're friends now, though. Also good looking over here to this side. Oh, you point out to me? Oh, you said I'm good looking. Thank you.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah, who are you?
Hi, I am Teagn of Anglesey from Atlantia.
And then also good looking, we got two good lookings down there in that corner. I just met you guys, so I hope you don't mind me saying that.
It's fine. Everybody does. He has pretty hair.
Yes, very nice. I had pretty hair once.
Mael from Mid-Realm. I'm here for the rapier, and this is...
I'm Prudence. I'm here for throwing weapons.
All right. And also, I'm the host of the show, and I am from the East Kingdom. And if whoever's listening doesn't know this yet, this is a special year. We often call this a purple Pennsic. So normally at Pennsic, we have the blue team. That would be us, the East Kingdom. We're the good guys. And then we have the red team, which is the Mid-Realm, which is everyone on the bottom side of this screen. And then we also have the allies. And so Teagn over here represents one of the allies, which would be Atlantia. So typically the main allies would be Atlantia, Ethelmark, Eldemir are usually the biggest ones. The two trucks bring a big contingent. And then everyone from the known world, just the further out you go, usually the less people that come to Pennsic. So anyway, this year, blue and red are fighting together. And though I am colorblind, I do understand that blue and red combine to make purple. So that's why we call it a purple war. So this year, we're the good guys. Teagn is on the bad guys. So we talked about this. I believe we will have 10 armored battles this year, starting on Sunday. Do we have the date? Sunday. Who's got the top of their head? Sunday, August something.
Sunday, August 3rd.
Sunday, August 3rd. So, and I believe opening ceremonies would be Saturday. So Saturday will be opening ceremonies. There's obviously a whole week before that. Well, maybe not obviously, but there's a week we call Peace Week before that. Opening ceremony is Saturday. Sunday, we start with the war points. That travels on through Friday. We have war points every day. And again, we have 10 on the armored side, and then we have 10 on the rapier side. And let's start off with Sunday. And there is one person on here who has a ton of experience with this battle. So I'd like to hand it over to Teagn to talk about the first battle on Sunday.
Yes. So the first battle is the 10 a.m., what's traditionally known as the Allied Champions battle. And traditionally, when it's not a purple Pennsic, it is a capture the flag battle between all of the allies of the two principal kingdoms. So in a normal Pennsic, the two principal kingdoms are the East Kingdom and the Mid-Realm. And so it's their allies who fight in it, not actually fighters from the East Kingdom and Mid-Realm. But this year it's different because there's not two, but four principal kingdoms now in this purple Pennsic. So the East Kingdom and the Mid-Realm are actually going to get to fight in the Allied Champions battle together. And then the other side is Ethelmark and Atlantia and their allies. And it's a 60-minute resurrection battle. And they're actually not calling it Allied Champions Battle this year. In the Pennsic rules, it's called Capture the Flag, but that's exactly what it is. People refer to it as like SCA football. And it's a 60-minute unlimited resurrection battle. And it's 100 on 100 fighters. And the goal is to capture the other side's flag while you also are in possession of your own flag. And whichever team gets to 7 flags or captures their opponent's flag 7 times, or whoever has the most at the 60-minute mark will win. And they do allow the resurrections are timed resurrections and 3-minute releases, but they also allow substitutions. So even though it's 100 on 100, there's going to be more than 100 fighters fighting, because after if you fight and then die and you go back to your res box and you get released after 3 minutes and you fight and die and you do that again, and then let's say you die a third time and you're just done fighting, you're gassed, you're spent, whatever, you can have someone sub for you, and it's like soccer style substitutions. So it's a really fun battle.
And then once you step off the field, then you're done for the rest of the battle.
Correct.
Your substitutes can step in for you, but you are out at that point. So they're going to need everybody to show up. A good number of people, like 150 people or 130 people, something like that. A lot of people for both sides. And then mentioning teams, just to clarify, the mid and east will be wearing purple tape, and allies and everybody else will be wearing at the mark. Atlantia allies will all be wearing green tape.
So, Teagn, since you've done this in a year, is there any advice you'd give to kingdoms that maybe are doing it for the first time in 8 years? Like any tips or tricks or?
Yeah, well, I don't want to give too many tricks from the Atlantia side, because we like to think of ourselves as being very successful in this battle. But I think one thing what was just said is you need subs. You need more than what you think you know, because people will gas out. You absolutely need fresh legs. And you just remember, you probably need some fast people who can go capture the other side's flag, but you're going to also need people who can stay back and protect your own flag, because you have to be in possession of both. And just a reminder for this, in order to possess the flag, you have to have a gauntleted hand.
So this is 150 by 150. And it looks like the drawing is not square. So no, I don't want to be too judgmental on whoever drew this, but my engineering eyes are killing me right now. No, yeah, so 150 on 150. It's 150 feet by 150 feet, which would be, how long is that? That's like 50 yards by 50 yards. Am I doing that right? Yeah, 50 yards by 50 yards. So about half of a football field. So like one side of a football field or one side of a soccer field. I know I'm talking to people in the SCA who those are sports, often played in high school and in college and sometimes professionally. I'm trying to remember, was there anything else specific about this? You've talked about the soccer. So once you sub out, you're done. You need to have subs. It's a 60-minute long resurrection battle. Every time you grab the flag, you get a point. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it in a nutshell.
Yeah, the only other thing is if you happen to be the flag bearer and you're killed, you have to drop the flag where you die. You can't hand it off to a teammate.
Okay. Let's move on to the next battle. And let's see. So we have the next one is the unbelted champions battle. How about this? I'll talk about this one, and I'll let Louis talk about the belted champs battle. I've never been on the belted champs battle. I've been on the unbelted champs. Teagn knows I love talking about the unbelted champions battle. We won't say why. But no, this is like one of, I think, for the East Kingdom, well, typically for the East Kingdom and the Mid-Realm, this is one of the premier battles of the war. It's a highlight for the unbelted fighters. Typically, each kingdom grabs 30-ish unbelted fighters. each kingdom has its own selection process. In theory, these are the best melee fighters that are not chivalry on each side. The teams usually go through some sort of practices. They bond together. They come up with tactics. They go out there, and the battle usually takes less than a minute. It's a very short battle. It's a one-off, single death. There's usually a big fanfare, a lot of people cheering on the sides, and they run at each other, and all sorts of chaos and pandemonium happens. And at one point, one side is completely dead, and then everybody cheers for the other team. And this year, it is going to be the Mid and the East are on the same team, and it's going to be against, again, the allies. It's going to be Ethelmark and Atlantia, and I guess whoever else you all can grab. It says here each team will consist of 50 fighters. So this is going to be a little bit bigger in scope than it normally is. And again, that's because everybody's participating. And right now it says there will be no battle fought for the alternate. So both teams usually have alternates. Some years they will have alternates fight. Some years they don't. I'll just leave that at that. And are there any questions about this? I think it's pretty straightforward, right? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, can I just say, as someone, as being of a kingdom that doesn't get to normally fight in this battle, we have been invited in the last couple of years to fight in the alternates battle, which is not a war point, but it's nice to get that invitation. But to be able to fight in this as an unbelt for the war point is very special for those of us who don't get to do it. So I'm excited for it.
That's pretty awesome. All right, let's move on to the belted champs battle then. So that'll be Louis.
Yeah, and a little note on both the unbelted and the belted battle. Those are high intensity battles. They usually last like a minute to 2 minutes at most. So high intensity, a lot of very hot, a lot of running and fast killing violence. So on the belted, there will be 30 fighters per team. So should be 15 from the east, 15 from the mid, and then Atlantia, Ethelmark, and all the allies from the chivalry. So nice, fast battle. 1 point for the Pennsic war points. And then we had the Rapier champions melee.
Yeah. So that I'm assuming is also 1 point, even though it doesn't explicitly state that in the rule. Oh, it does. Never mind.
Yeah, right here. Yep.
Yeah.
It's right there. Yeah, it's fought in pretty much exactly the same way as the belted and unbelted. It's going to be this year 15 from East and Mid versus, I'm assuming, 15 from Atlantia and Ethelmark, an even split. We do, however, fight 2 out of 3 passes, and they typically end in somewhere between 30 seconds to a minute. It takes us much less time to slaughter each other.
Well, I want to add to this, and just to be clear, I believe each day the first battle starts at 10 a.m. Is that correct? That's the target. And then the battles are fought consecutively. So the battles, just in case anybody's confused by the rules, maybe you've never been to Pennsic before, they're not fought at the same time. So it's not like, oh, I wanted to see that battle, but then this other battle is going on over here. So it starts off with the known world capture the flag. Following that is the unbelted champions battle. Following that's the belted champions battle. Following that is the rapier champions melee. Historically, between them, sometimes there are small breaks for court in the kingdoms. I don't know if that will happen this year or not, but that's historically happened. And a lot of times what happens is, like, right after the belted champions battle, they'll have a court. Sometimes they'll announce elevations. You know, that'll be the last time they've ever fought on the unbelted team. They announce who's going to get elevated to chivalry. I don't know if they do that with rapier. At least I've not ever witnessed that. And sometimes I've also seen it or even participated in it with, like, a couple battles later, they'll bring it back and then they'll make some sort of announcement. So sometimes it would be small breaks for court.
Yeah, usually I would anticipate there's a short court after each little thing that goes on. It's a possibility. But
Okay.
not to, and I know that they really try to keep on schedule all day because so many, everybody's out there out in the sun and it's a long day.
Yeah. So after the Rapier champions, then we have the heroic champions. And I'm going to throw this back to Louis because I know you fought on this before. In fact, I think you fought last year.
Yep, and I'll be at least one of the captains this year. So on the armored side, we've got 15 fights. There's going to be at least 3 unbelted and at least 10 belted out of the 15. And it's sort of a chess match. Somebody will put somebody out, and then there will be a response from the other side, and we match up on the fly as we go. This will be running concurrently with the Rapier Heroics as well.
Then ours pretty much flow the same way.
And then how many fights for Rapier?
19 total, 3 of which will be cut and thrust.
Okay. And then on the Rapier side, double kills will be refought. And something different that they're going to do this year as an exhibition, they're going to also do 3 youth heroic fights as well. Those will be no points, but they want to give the kids a thing to have fun doing and aspire to go do.
So the youths will be fighting this year. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not 2 youths. 3 youths.
Not 2 youths. 3 youths. For those who've never seen My Cousin Vinny. Yeah, I want to add to the heroic champions. First question, because I know historically, as Louis said, it is one side will say who they're presenting, and the other side will respond. Typically, I believe the way that works is that's just give a little bit behind the scenes. While one fight's going on, or maybe before a fight, they'll sort of plan out the next fight. So Louis might say, "Oh, we're going to bring out, Duke Johan," and then the other team will then think about it for a while. And they'll come back. They'll be like, "All right, we're going to match that with Sir Sven or something like that." And then live, one will say it, and the other will respond right away because they'll already have that sort of worked out. I believe the Rapier typically will do it the night before. And on the armored side, it's kind of like a little bit of a chess match on the fly. But I believe on the Rapier side is you're trying to match up like good fights, things that will be sort of a showcase.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's and this entire tournament. And by the way, this is a tournament that kind of first got me interested in tournaments at all, is just because it's a really neat format. Like normally a tournament is, everybody fights in the first round and people start getting eliminated and you kind of work your way all the way until there's like one person left that becomes the winner. This one is everybody fights once, but you're looking for these really interesting matchups. Typically, you're going for winning the tournament, but at the same time, there's a little bit of putting on a good show, meaning, typically you want to see Dukes fighting Dukes, or maybe someone who's been a Duke 5 times versus someone else who's been a Duke 5 times. Or like I said, on the Rapier side, it might be maybe they'll get 2 sabers together or some sort of interesting matchup. So it really is just like it's almost like all-star weekend in basketball. That's a sport. I brought up a sport again. Sorry. It's a nice showcase of great fighting and sort of epic personalities out there. Any more heroics? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, one more thing. On Sunday, we will also have the archery head-to-head shoot is happening. I believe that is happening on the field at the thrown weapons, but I'm not 100% on that. That's 2 war points.
Is it done like cornhole where they face across from each other and they stand next to the targets?
I am not sure about any of the details.
Okay.
I assume it's safe.
I think they put all the targets on one side, they stay on the other side. Okay, on to Monday. So we have Bridges and Castle City Watch battle. So the bridges are going to be the armored battles. Again, oh, look at that. We got a picture of the bridges. Who wants to take this? Teagn, you want to take this one?
Sure. So this bridge scenario is actually pretty much the exact same bridge scenario from 2 Pennsics ago. If you remember last year, there was no bridges. It was the Hidden Fortress battle was in lieu of bridges. But this is the same as Pennsic 2 years ago. So it's 5 bridges and 5 bouts. So you run it 5 times and each bout is a point. And the bouts are 15 minutes with the first 10 minutes being unlimited resurrection. And then at the 10-minute mark, they'll close the res point and it will be single death. And then at the end, it's whichever side has taken a bridge. And then if a bridge looks like it's contested within the 9-foot radius in the center of those bridges there, they'll fight it out. And so the war point, like for bout 1 would be, let's say like green team gets, controls 3 bridges at the end of the 15 minutes and purple controls 2, then that would be 1 point for green. And then you run it 5 times. Combat archery and siege are allowed on the middle 3 bridges. So bridges 2, 3, and 4, but not 1 and 5, which makes sense for safety.
Right. So you're not close to the sides of the battlefield where stray arrows could come off and hit people.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And is there archery? I'm sorry, you just said this. Is there archery in every battle?
Yes, every battle.
But not every bridge.
But not every bridge.
Okay. And there's 5 battles?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, so this is I know when they came up with this a couple years ago, this is a nice balance. I personally prefer the single death bridge battles because I don't know, I kind of like each kill like making a big difference. But I've also got a lot of experience. I usually get at least a handful of kills on one of the bridges. But for a lot of people, like if they're a newer fighter, they don't get any kills. And so, for example, maybe a brand new fighter could go out there and just get killed immediately when they get to the front line in every battle. So they're not having fun. So this resurrection point to it kind of gives them a chance to kind of keep getting in there and maybe, at some point they'll have sort of a good run or, a good experience at some point in the battle. And there is a little bit during the resurrection section of kind of controlling the middle of that bridge. Like you could still push somebody out to one side, which gives your team a big advantage.
Right.
A little bit of strategy there. And then when they close the res points, then it's like you look at the different bridges and try to figure out where to win one or not.
Yes. So there are a couple of comments in the chat that one is Guillaume noticed that in this depiction, it's running like north south instead of east west, like with the fort at the top. I don't know if that is the way they meant it to be. That's a great question that we should probably get clarification on because that's not traditionally how the bridges are set up.
But I can comment on that.
Oh, great.
Since this is published, I would assume that this is correct. And the idea was that Mid and East have such a large group of people on the field, and we always our tents are on the opposite sides of the field. So instead of flipping them back and forth and making one or the other sides walk, same with the Atlantia, Ethelmark, and Allies. Then I think the agreement was to set it up in a way so that everybody equally has to do the walking.
Oh,
It's
so it's
interesting.
to accommodate the tents.
So that means the tents are going to be in the same locations they always are then?
I'm not 100% on that, but I believe that will be the case.
Okay.
And then the other question was about breakouts on the bridges. And it does say that once the
first 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, but there's no breakouts when at the end when the bridge is contested.
Sorry, breakouts are allowed for 15 minutes. That's correct.
Yeah. And then you said if after 15 minutes there's a contested bridge, then there's no breakouts.
Yeah, it says there's no breakout fighting at that point.
Okay.
Right. This is one that Sive and I introduced with Keelan and Brennan at Pennsic 50. And the idea was that we really wanted to have more fun time, especially for the people that travel, so that you don't just walk out, have your death, and then you've got your 1 minute of playtime for that scenario, at least that battle.
Yeah, I think it was a great compromise. I'll be honest, I've done several years ago, we did just straight resurrection bridge battles. And as a spear, I didn't like it because every time I'd stab somebody, just someone right behind them would replace them. And it just felt like I wasn't accomplishing anything. This is kind of like a nice mix between the two, like a nice hybrid. And I will say this also, for anyone that goes way back to the way back, like Teagn does. I don't know if Louis does. I don't know when Louis started fighting, but Teagn and I, our first Pennsic was the same year, in the last century. And it was the bridge battles back then. Like, they've improved so much. Like, these were actually really fun battles. Now, back then they were, some of them lasted. There was one battle, they lasted hours, and you would wait. You might wait in the sun for 2 hours until you finally get to the front rank, and then you get one-shotted by someone, and then that was your experience. So I like these, 5 offs with, random resurrections in there and controlling center points and time limits. These are actually really fun battles.
Yeah.
So again,
Pennsic 40 was actually my first event.
What's that?
Pennsic 40 was my first event.
Wow. Make us feel old.
That's cute.
Yummy.
Ouch.
Yummy.
I think we go back to I think we're Pennsic 23 was our first. Yeah.
33.
34 was mine.
Okay, yeah. We were youngins though. We were in college.
We were really young.
Yeah. As were most people at Pennsic.
So Mal, can you talk us through the Rapier Castle City Watch?
Yeah. So it says 60-minute scenario, but it's actually 2 30-minute scenarios. Each side gets to attack once. Each side defends once. So each of the buildings is going to have a keg in it because we love our MacGuffins. So the object is to get the kegs and get them back to the castle. In carrying it, whoever's carrying it, it's got to be 4 people. They have to have a free hand to carry the keg. So you can't have a weapon in that hand. You can't have a buckler in that hand. It's got to be empty. Once they start moving it, the defenders can't kill them and take it back. They can kill them all they want to, but they can't move the keg back. So it slowly moves towards the castle anyway. Victory is when all the kegs are returned to the castle or 30 minutes. So whoever's going to end up with the best time is going to end up winning the point for that.
How tiring are these battles?
Depends on how much you have to run. They can be fairly tiring, in all honesty. So ours start at 1:00, so we're in the heat of the day. And while we do have lighter armor, it doesn't always breathe as well.
Are you allowed to wear short sleeves this year?
Yeah, we are. The new rules, as long as we have puncture proof on the torso, we don't have to have the arms covered as much. Gloves are optional. You can wear shorts now or a kilt with nothing but, the appropriate protection under.
Very nice. Yeah, I think you guys, you can give us feedback on that. I think you guys are going to enjoy that.
So it does. It's the reason for the 30-minute break with the water in between, with an opportunity to sit, drink, get some water, refresh yourself a little bit, and get back out there.
Are these actual kegs or are they like hay bales?
So they won't be hay bales. They'll be constructed MacGuffins. I'm not 100% sure of what they're going to use because I haven't seen the actual items yet.
Okay.
But typically it's something with some actual weight to it. So you
Okay.
can't just pick it up and sprint.
Okay.
I can imagine one of those, like pickle barrels or something like that, is a possibility.
Yeah.
Some water in it, something like that. It's a,
With a
it
tap.
might be a good
Red
time.
Bull.
Good time
Rocks.
to talk about a couple of the conventions too, as we're getting into the battles. On the rapier, a couple points to mention here: knee walking's allowed, death from behind is allowed, and every battle will have push, tip, and draw cuts allowed.
Yeah. And death from behind is not possible with a spear. So when a spear is in a battle, you can only stab from the front with it.
Right. And then to mention on the armored side, standard SEA conventions, but side and top of helm are proof from thrusts. They will be no good if you thrust someone to the side of the helm, especially, you're out in the woods and you're trying to throw shots. That's more on the western side of the country where this is very common. This will not be in play for Pennsic. And then there is a note, and I'll clarify this: death from behind and dead on the ground are not in use. That is at the top of the document about all the scenarios and the rules. But on Friday, for the armored field battles only, they will have dead on the ground. And just a quick note, it's 3 points of contact, but we can kind of think of that as 3 limbs of contact. And if you've got a knee down, another knee down, and your hand down, then you are on the ground. And if someone walks up and lays the sword on you and says dead on the ground, then you are dead. Maybe you got there because you tripped in at the big, at the beginning of the battle, when you got into the mix with the line engagement. There obviously will be no making people go to the ground. That is unacceptable. If you are on your knees and you're leaning on your shield as normal in normal orientation, that will be good, and you will not be vulnerable to dead on the ground. But if you tip your shield sideways and you're using it to get up and you're on your knees, now you are vulnerable to dead on the ground. So just a couple of points about that to clarify, but that's the convention that'll be used only for the field battles again on Friday.
And I think if I understand this correctly, the spirit of the rule, which is important, especially in melees, it's not that important to get wins and losses, but the spirit of the rule is if somebody falls, to the ground, it's not a matter of trying to trick somebody into putting their hand on the ground when they're fighting on their knees. That's my dog. Or like I said, no grappling. Let's move on to the next battle. Get her to shut up. Armored 10-person. Teagn, I think you're the expert on this.
I am the expert on this. So this is actually traditionally what's is called a tournament that Atlantia hosts, which is a 10-on-10 melee round robin tournament. And this year, the Royals wanted to make this a war point. So there was input on how do you take what's traditionally a round robin tournament and make it into a war point. So the way this works is, in the past, it's just as whoever wants to field a 10-fighter team, they come to the field and it's a round robin, and whoever has the best record wins the prize, wins the tournament. If there's a tie in the record, then there'll be a bout for the tiebreaker. But now, since it's a war point, it's still going to be like that, but a little different. And there'll be a cap in the number of teams each side 10-person teams that each side can field. So each purple can field up to 5 teams, and green can field up to 5 teams. And each team will still do the traditional round robin and fight every other team. So you'll have purple on purple and green on green. Like you could have a mid-realm team and an East Kingdom team. And I think there was that maybe last year or the year before. And they'll still fight each other like normal. And they'll still be the traditional overall prize winner with the best record. But that's not what the war point is. The war point will be the best aggregate record of wins on each side, green and purple, if that makes sense. So it is a little wonky because you are going to have, when you fight a team on your own color side, you'll have one win and one loss when you're figuring out the aggregate. But there are teams who are still going to want to be the overall prize winner. And I think that will incentivize people to, fight their hardest in every bout. But yeah, that's what the scenario is.
And those are predetermined teams, right? Like people can't just show up and hope to get thrown onto a team when they get
there. They got to kind of be pre-prepared. Although I will say this, like in the Capture the Flag Ally Champs, your 10 warrior team can have subs. And I know when this is run normally, the teams will, yes, you have 10 starters, but if you're going to be fighting all these rounds, people are going to get tired, and you can have sub in with people on the sidelines. However, with the war point in play, you cannot be a sub or an alternate for more than one team. So you couldn't, I'll just take me, for example. Let's say I was a sub for the Atlantia 10 warrior team, but also my mercenary household of Anglesey decided to field a team. I couldn't also be a sub for them. I have to choose.
You guys call them subs in Atlantia?
What should we call them?
We call them hoagies.
But
that's the 10-man team, or the 10 fighter team.
Yeah.
Old habits die hard. I apologize. Is there? That's just on. Is that on Monday?
Yeah, that's Monday at 3:00.
Okay, that's the end of Monday. Monday at, I'm making quote fingers here, 3:00. Right, because it's not listed. It's not listed here, is it?
At the end.
Yeah, it's just after the Rapier Castle City Watch battle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And okay, that's interesting. I guess. Well, okay, so we have the same number of battles, so I'm assuming there'll be a Rapier sort of.
So the Rapier equivalent of it is again another battle that Atlantia tournament type battle or melee that Atlantia traditionally hosts. That's not for war points, called the 5-sword tournament. So that's the Rapier version.
And we'll get to that. That's a Wednesday thing.
Yeah,
not on Monday. Let's stay in order here. So, and also I want to go back. The guide does have points on them. So we talked about, I think all the Sunday battles were 1 point, 1 victory point. And then the bigger battles, like the Monday Bridge battle, was 5 points. The Rapier Watch battle was also 5 points. And then this 10-person battle is 1 point. On to Tuesday, one of my favorite battles, the Woods battle. And we're going to have an Armored Woods, and then I believe there's also Rapier Woods. So, Louis, you want to handle the Woods battle in this one?
Sure. So Woods battle, unlike the rest of the days, Woods battle is going to start at 11 a.m. There would be a alternate battle if the Woods is deemed unsuitable for fighting. Same with Rapier. There'll be an alternate battle. The armored alternate battle is the same scenario as the Woods battle, essentially. The field is attempted to be constructed in the same way. But for Armored Woods, it's going to be a 90-minute battle. There is 3 colored flip sticks again. One toward, we'll call it, say, the south, one in the middle, one toward the north. The team that is behind in points at the end of the first day will decide where they would like to fight. Whether it be, say, the west side near the entrance of the woods or the east side, the farther side.
I'm trying my bearing straight here. West side. So if you're on the west side, the north banner is to your left, and the south banner is to your right. And it looks like there's archery allowed in this.
Yeah, there will be CA this year, but it's on the opposite road that it was last year. So it's going to be toward the south side.
Oh, okay. Oh, is it? Hold on, wait. Let me. I'm reading this right now. Where does it say archery rules? This one says just the rules I'm reading right now. Combat archery would be allowed within designated zone by the north flag and half of the center flag.
That's a great question because we were just talking about this on Monday.
Okay. Yeah. This well, either way, I mean, we'll figure it out once we get there.
Right. It is what it is. It says north flag. So north flag and half of the center flag.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's basically half of the field when they say half of the center flag. So half of the field and the other half would not have archery. Okay.
Right. And at least when we did that 2 years ago, the rule was that you had to shoot toward targets inside of that. If you're obviously if the arrow hits somebody outside of that range, it's no good. But you shouldn't be aiming outside that range or that lane. And then it's a grueling battle, and it's like I said, 90 minutes. And then time checks are going to be at 30, 60, and 90 minutes again, plus or minus 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, and they don't announce them, right? They take a score, and we have no idea until the end if we had it, if they had it.
I think they call it on the radio, and then they call the hold immediately.
Okay. Yeah, this is a fun one. It is a grueling one. The plus side is you get to wake up a little bit later, although it's a little bit more organization to get up there because you have to grab everything and drag it in the woods. And it's usually in the shade, which is always nice. And again, like we talked about with these resurrection battles, I mean, even if things aren't going well for you in the first half of the battle, at some point you usually find like some good fighting somewhere. So I always enjoy this one. And then Mael and Prudence, if you want to talk about would you guys like to talk about the Rapier Woods battle?
Oh, yeah. This is our favorite one, too. Because we get to run around and play in the woods like we're 6 still.
Yeah.
So we start at 2 o'clock. So, yeah, we shift back an hour also. It's a 60-minute unlimited res. So typically the side, well, actually I can't say that anymore. It's changed some. Which side we start on gets determined the night before. Some new things this year that haven't been in the woods usually is a resurrection line as opposed to a resurrection point. And this one, they're tallying every single resurrection. So the side with the lowest number of tallied resurrections is the winner. So this is a 60-minute kill them all over and over and over again battle.
That's fun. This is kind of like 100 Minutes War, Rapier.
Yeah, it's 100-minute style for Rapier. So I'm actually looking forward to this one because it's a whole new challenge. We get to use the whole woods, and it doesn't necessarily mean it will devolve to a line fight around the flags, which is what typically happens. So we may get to see some new things pop up in the woods this year.
Then I'd like to add, so for the armored battle, if there's a weather issue or for whatever reason they determine the woods are not safe, maybe there's like rabid badgers or something like let loose in the woods. It has happened. Yeah, hornets. Not so much the badgers, but yeah, things have happened. I think like one year, like it was just like they went in some ATVs and just torn up the terrain, and there's like a lot of ankle breaking kind of ruts and stuff. They're going to have some sort of broken field battle in just in the normal like Pennsic field battle. Or Pennsic field, there's going to be some sort of broken field with a bunch of hay bales. I think they'll just sort of make it up on the spot. And it'll be the same parameters. And then for the rapier, what's it say here?
Same thing.
Okay.
It's the same idea. Only, I mean, I don't know if it was a rule for y'all, but if the hay bale's there, it represents a tree, so you can't fight over it.
Okay.
Yep. Same for armored.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've only ever I've fought in about 20 Pennsics, and I've only ever experienced an alternate battle once. That was a bad one. It was so hot they ended up canceling the battle after like 20 minutes. That was right around the time I think they came up with the heat rules after that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that year.
Yeah, it was probably about 8 years ago. Back around Louis' first Pennsic. All right.
Also on Tuesday, to throw out there is the archery champs competition, and it's a 2 war point competition.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for keeping us on top of that.
Yep.
Wednesday, I'll throw this up to anyone. I've never done this one before. The combat archery and siege. Who knows this one? Oh, Guillaume's got a map. We know that much.
Awesome. So as we had the map up, I'm going to read a couple of points here. CA siege battle. This is worth 3 points. This starts later in the afternoon. I don't have a time on and I'm not looking at the schedule.
I think it's actually a 10 a.m. start.
Is it? Okay, usually this was like 3, so 10 a.m.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Pennsic site where they have all the times listed, and it says
Perfect.
10 a.m.
Thank you. So engineers and archers are going to use simulated ships. There's going to be 6 archers and 1 siege engine crew with ammo. The field is 180 by 90 with a 15-yard staging area, and the victory conditions. Number of kill shots for siege. 3 shots landing in the ship will sink a ship. So we've got PVC ships that are 10 by 10 boats that are set out. Personnel that are struck are dead. If the ship is sunk, live fighters may resurrect at the island on their team. For siege, 2 bolts will destroy a boat. Each ship will only have 10 fire bolts. So 2 fire bolts will destroy a boat, and each will have 10. Victory is when one side or the other is destroyed. War point awarded to the most kills by either side.
Hey, Louis, can I ask a question about this? So
Yeah.
I know in the past, like CA siege battles, shieldmen were allowed to participate and maybe like throw some axes and stuff like that, and they could block for the combat archers. It doesn't seem like that's the case in this scenario. Do you know anything about that?
I don't have any information about that.
Okay.
And I will, I'm reaching out as we talk, and I'll try to throw that back in to the conversation as we go.
Great. Thank you.
Oh, that didn't work. Sorry, I was trying to drop a picture in the chat, but yeah, I just want to show a picture of the siege engines, but I can't drop it in the chat. But it's just for anyone who's never been to Pennsic or been to any of these big SCA events before. Typically, the siege engines are like these giant crossbows on the field. They usually have wheels on them. A team of I think 3 people have to operate them, and there's like a winch that like kind of draws the thing back, and you get this bolt that's maybe 4 feet long and flies through the air. It's actually quite a sight to see when you see like these things flying across the field. So anyway, that's what a siege engine is.
Yeah, and I want to add here as I'm seeing more information, the archers can move the ships. So they're a PVC structure, and the archers can carry them and move them around. So they start in the staging area and then they move from there.
Oh, Teagn dropped a video of the Armored Woods battle. That's nice. I'm hoping to get a good video this year, but
That really good one that the Downtime Productions made. It's really neat.
I'm hoping to get a good video myself this year, but we'll talk about that after Pennsic.
Okay.
We'll decide if it's good or not after Pennsic. We would like to move on to the Rapier 5 Sword Melee Tournament. We are Rapier friends that joined us.
Sure. I mean, it functions in exactly the same way as the Armored 10-man, except we're limited to 5 people per team. 10 fighter. Yeesh. We're also limited, and you can only have 2 members of the Order of Defense per team. So only 2 Masters of Defense. And yeah, all the rest of the conditions pretty much mirror that. It's the Atlantean 5 Sword tournament's been a fun one they've run for years. This is the first time it's been a war point. So,
and there's a maximum of 5 teams as well for this event.
Yep.
So you said the only 2 Masters of Defense were allowed on that team, and Teagn, the 10 fighter team for Armored, is that no chivalry?
No shiv.
Okay, no chivalry. All right. Awesome. Okay, let's move on to. Oh no! Before we move on to Thursday, I always like to bring up when we do our pre-Pennsic episode, Midnight Madness. I'm assuming that will happen again. This is when the markets are often closed by like 4, 5, or 6, depending on which vendor it is. Midnight Madness, and it's a huge marketplace. If you've never been to Pennsic, it's a really, really, really big marketplace. Midnight Madness is where they have amazing deals of like 5% off. But
Mary.
I mean, not
I'm
wrong.
just being honest here. They don't have the deals like they used to. But I will say the nice thing about Midnight Madness is that you get to shop when the weather cools off. So it's a lot. And when you're not busy out fighting, you're not busy doing like a lot of other things. You're busy doing the archery or a lot of the classes. So it frees up some time. I think it's really nice just because once the sun goes down, you get all the torch lights to come out, and it just really, I think, is a lot more immersive of an experience. Everyone wears their nice garb because it's a little bit cooler and they're out on the town. So I always recommend, like, if you could just go for like one thing at Pennsic, like this is where I would go to. I think it's really awesome. Walk around. I used to love it because I would walk up from the bog, and that's where I get to see all of my up top friends. But now I just see them in the battles. So it's so that's Midnight Madness. And then on to Thursday, Broken Field Battles is what they're calling this. Oh, okay, because we have an Armored and a Rapier version. So who would be an expert on this? Louis, do you want to take this one?
Nope,
No.
This is going to Teagn.
Yeah.
This one's complicated.
Yeah.
And I would caution everybody, please read this. There's 3 stages to it, and there's the rules change as we go a little bit.
We asked Teagn to keep this one simple, and this is what she gave us.
Well,
totally teasing her. I'm totally teasing.
It seems complicated, but it actually isn't. When you think about it in the whole picture, the idea is an attacking team is trying to breach a city wall, move into the city, and take it over. So this is an attack defend scenario. So it will be run twice, with each team getting a chance to attack the city and defend the city, and the team with the fastest time will win. It's actually not that different from, if people remember from 2 Pennsics ago, the river battle on the Friday.
River Sim.
what? I'm sorry, Louis.
River Sen battle.
Yeah, the River Sem battle, but it was like armored went, then rapier went, then armored went, then rapier went. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's sort of like that. So the first phase of this battle, which is similar to what it was 2 years ago in the river battle, is a siege phase, where at the bottom of the screen is a wall, and there's going to be 3 gates, and the siege engines have to breach the gate by hitting a target on it's a target that they have to hit 3 times. And when they do, then that gate opens and the attacking team can move in. And at this part, there's unlimited resurrections for both attackers and defenders. And you don't have to breach, the sieges don't have to breach or hit all 3 gates in order for the attackers to move in. They can move in as soon as 1 gate is open, and then the other 2 gates will open and the attackers will move in. The city has 6 buildings, which you can see there. 4 of the buildings, the 2 on the left and 2 on the right, the smaller ones, also have a corresponding resurrection point to them that the defenders get to use. So the defenders get to res on those little boxes on the far left and the far right. And the attacking team will have 6 flags, and they have to plant 5 of those flags in any one of these 6 buildings. And for example, let's say I'm on the attacking team and I have a flag, and let's say I plant it, I get to building 1, I plant it, then the corresponding resurrection for building 1 now becomes the attacker's res, and the defenders lose it. So then the defenders then only have 3 resurrection points in the middle of the city, and so on. You'll note that the 2 middle buildings do not have corresponding resurrection points, and that's just to keep from everybody like bunching up, if defenders die in the center, to keep them from like bunching up. It just creates a little more flow. So attackers have to plant 5 flags in any one of these 6 buildings, and each time these outer buildings fall, the defenders will lose that. There's a 15-minute maximum on this phase, and that's to keep the battle for going for like 3 hours. And so at the earlier of the 15 minutes, or when 5 flags are placed, the defenders will then have 1 resurrection left at the fort, and the attacking team has to get that 6th and final flag and plant it into the fort.
So you mentioned the corresponding res points. So if you are a defender, you can actually use any res point, right? It doesn't matter who you are, where you are. It's
right.
just a
You
matter
can
of
use any of these 4.
It's just a matter of once a building's captured, then that res
then
point.
you lose it. So until the attackers actually plant one of the flags in one of these 6 buildings, their res is at this wall. So they'll have to keep going back. But once they get 1, then they get to use one of these side ones, and so on. So the idea is, as more flags get placed, the defenders lose more resurrection points, and they have to keep going back to the fort, and it pushes the fighting towards the fort. And again, once 5 flags are planted in the buildings, then the defenders will only get 1 res left at the fort. And then the attackers will place the final flag in the fort.
So where do the flags start out at?
So the flags will start with the attacking team. So they'll actually be handed the flag. So it's still like a same rule about, I think it,
Gauntleted
double
hand.
check the gauntleted hand, to hold it, or, some sort of covering. I think we did say gauntleted flag or gauntleted hand in this. But so that's part of the strategy, is you have to think about, okay, well, who's going to be our flag bearers in this?
And if they die, can that flag be handed off?
No. So kind of same as Allied champs. If the flag bearer dies while carrying the flag, they have to drop the flag, but the defenders cannot pick up the flag. Another attacker will have to come and pick up the flag. But what the defenders could do is maybe try to surround the flag and keep the attackers from being able to pick it back up.
And this is So for the fort, we're actually going to fight through the gate of the fort for the third phase.
Yes. Yes.
We
So
haven't
the
done that
attackers,
for quite a while now at Pennsic.
yeah, I mean the idea is so you'll see the fort has multiple 2 doors on the side. And I think that the third door and then a fourth door in the back. So the idea is then you have to plant the final flag in the center of the fort. But people will be dying off at that point because once they get their final res at the fort, they'll have no more reses.
Okay, just to clarify, the fort here is a hay bale fort. It is not the big fort on the hill.
Oh, correct. Yeah, yeah.
It's been years since we actually fought.
Yeah, no.
The real fort.
No.
Okay.
It will be a hay bale fort.
Thank you.
And if you lose a building, can you win it back, or is it done?
No, it's done.
Okay.
Otherwise, the battle would like never end.
Yeah. Well, it would end in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what clever way that wins this battle that they have tried to work with the victory condition to get this in the fastest time.
Yeah, it's
I'm
really
excited to see this.
Yeah, it's really neat because I see all sorts of opportunities to put, kill pockets, and you can have people inside the building, people fighting around the outside of the building. People can sort of fight maybe like around a resurrection point.
Right. If you're the defender, then you want to protect the buildings from the attackers to getting their flag. And if you're the attack, so yeah, there's a lot of strategy. And just so you know, like in Atlanta, we've run a watered down version of this twice now, but it's going to be very different on this large scale with hundreds of fighters. So yeah, it will be interesting to see.
All right. And that is worth 6 points.
6 points.
And then after this, we have a rapier conquest battle. Conquest for 10 points. He wants to talk about that. Oh, it's a very short. I got to say, the description in here is a lot shorter than what Teagn just went through.
And yeah, so the map that's up is actually for it was kind of an illustration of what we would do if we didn't have the woods. So there's not actually a map for this that I could find in the map file.
Is it the same as Armored?
Yeah, I'm guessing because it's on the same day, it's in the afternoon, it's going to be relatively similar to Armored.
I mean, I'm guessing so also.
That's what it's been in the past.
Yeah, it's just
pretty close too.
If we're using that town setup with this, okay.
Or we'll have to reset the hay bales, and in that case, any armored combatants at the end of the fighting, they will need help.
Yeah. Because as I've been reading this over the last couple of days, it looks kind of very similar to the football battle from Sunday, where the idea is to
known world capture the flag battle.
What's that?
The known world capture the flag battle. Just clarify.
Yeah, the known world capture the flag battle.
Okay, to clarify, this is on a 400 foot by 400 foot field. So this is predominantly the field, and my understanding is that after Armored, the field will be cleared of hay bales for this.
Okay. So yeah. So yeah, the idea then is just to get across to the opposing side's flags, flip sticks, and flip them over.
It says alternating spears. I'm assuming RBGs is rubber band guns.
Yep, the rubber band guns and the spears alternating. So every time it's flipped, I guess we get to change those out.
Right. So yeah, 5 passes. The first pass, it seems like spears. Second pass, RGBs. third and fifth pass, spear, fourth pass, RBGs.
Yeah, and it's looking like we're going to have to get some clarification. I'm assuming we're going to go with standard RBG rules of not gleaning ammunition on the field, but I could be wrong about that. As far as how many shots each person can carry out with an RBG, that's not delineated out in the rules anywhere I could find either.
And do they typically let you? It's not just a loaded RBG and you fire it and you're done. You can reload with your own ammo that you bring out, or does
Right?
Okay. And then how many RBGs can you go out with?
That depends on the rules that are written in. I know in past years we've done you can take 2 RBGs.
Okay.
Some years we've been limited to 1. Some years have been limited to one shot. Which
All right.
And then one last thing for Thursday, throwing weapons. Do you want to jump in there, Prudence?
Sure. So that one's going to be similar to the archery head-to-head. So we're going to have teams, and so essentially what it is one person from each side. So one from purple, one from green. They're going to take the field and be throwing at about the same time. So trying to, similar to it'll just be like the archery head-to-head. But yeah, the champions team tryouts. Let me find I just had it. The date for the tryouts. So the champions tryouts are going to be Sunday, August 3rd, Monday, August 4th, from 5 p.m. till dusk at the range. So while the range hour says it closes, we're going to have the tryouts after that. So it'll just be people interested in the team. So if you're interested in the team and want to come try out, there's also a populist throw. So if you want to, at any point between Sunday, August 3rd through Wednesday, August 6th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Come throw for the populace, because the more participants we have signed in at the range, the more likely we are to get another portacastle on that side of the field, because they base it on thrown weapons numbers, not how many armored fighters use that corner of the field.
Wow.
So the more armored fighters who come up and use thrown weapons and play at thrown weapons, the more likely we are to have more portacastles on that side.
That's the little set that's up by the castle.
That's based on thrown weapons participation numbers. Okay. So the more people we can get, the more participation numbers we can get.
So
the more amenities we get.
Thrown weapons champions 2 points, and the populace throw 2 points as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that's on Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah, Thursday, and the populace is Sunday to
Wednesday.
Yeah, Sunday to Wednesday. Yeah. So anytime the range is, they stop the populace throw like a half hour before the range closes, just to get everybody through the line. So if you've lined up before the last half hour, because then we don't have marshals staying like an hour after the range closes.
Yeah.
And to throw out there, I believe Monday is the ANS competition, non-peer, peer, and combined categories, 1 point each.
How does the ANS competition work?
That's a great question. There's a number of competitors from each team, some peers, some laurels, some not. And then they will have assigned judges, and there's a whole rule set written about the competition that has to be followed. It's quite detailed, but it's like an all-day Monday activity.
Yeah, I don't know much about the ANS side, but a friend of Teagan's and mine is getting elevated this year. I remember last year she was asked to judge something. It was involved. It was like, yeah, I was really, it was daunting how much goes into some of these ANS projects. So I'll say this much for anyone who maybe is looking like down that path. From what I understand, is it's like, it's not about like how pretty of garb you can make or how nice the banners are or how nice the medieval trunker is. There's a lot of research that goes into it, and documentation, and it's a lot more university like, I think. I mean, obviously fine craftsmanship makes a difference,
Right. But there's a very detailed rubric, which is like this rule set, and it defines how the scores should be categorized. So
Okay.
based on like, did you get this kind of information? Then maybe the score goes up a little bit. And then you look at the next level and is like, did they present this thing this way and give details? Not quite. Okay, maybe you're somewhere between the two levels on the score for that particular portion of it.
Yeah.
There's many different categories that they score against, not just the overall of what they made, but maybe it's part research, part whatever.
Yeah, we have a friend that won one of those with a broom handle with thumbtacks in it. No, it's an old joke. I think it was like the only one who entered like a very specific category. This was like 30 years ago. We're like, how did you win with that? He was like, I was the only one that entered. So. But no, normally they're not just broomsticks with thumbtacks in it. That's why this is a funny story, is because that's literally what it was at that point. All right, on to Friday, field battles. I'll cover this one since Louis done a lot of the other. Well, actually, since Louis and Teagn did like a lot of the other armored ones. Field battles, I think, are often, for the armored side, probably the most interesting to watch from a spectator's point of view. It's on the main battlefield. There's all sorts of units moving around the field, involving tactics and strategy, and it's very dynamic. It's a very large version of the belted and unbelted battles. It's just a single death field battle, just with hundreds and hundreds of people on each side. I also throw out there, if you've ever gone to Renegade Paladin on YouTube, he usually gets a video of these from the castle, as well as other videos, or as well as other battles. But this one usually comes out pretty nicely. There's going to be 5 battles. Way back in the day, they used to do one, and I remember walking up to the battlefield and hearing the cannon fire, and I turned around and went back to camp because I missed the battle. That's all there was. Here we have 5 battles. 1 life per combatant, no resurrection. 10 minutes between battles. And they're going to allow siege in this. So combat archery and siege allowed in the first 3 battles. And then this is the experiment with the dead on the ground, which we covered earlier. There's no grappling or throwing anyone to the ground. The idea is if someone falls and there's someone near them that, in real life, they would have been stabbed or something. And I understand what they're going for with this. This is usually, my experience of this is, every now and then you have a couple where you just get overwhelmed by the other side and you don't have a whole lot of fun. But then usually at least 1 or 2 of the battles, you kind of have like a nice, sort of situation where you got to, maybe get the advantage on somebody and really get like some good fighting in. And a lot of times, especially on Friday, if one side has already won the war by a lot, if the field battles are getting a little lopsided, sometimes they'll just send like a whole, kingdom to your side, or maybe like a unit from the mid realm or the east or whatever to the other side to kind of balance things out a little bit and have a little bit of fun. Anything else to add on this, do you guys think?
The only thing I see here is they didn't clarify the size of the field. They do say that the start line's 100 feet from the edge of the field, but they don't say in the rule set what the size of the field is.
Yeah. Okay. I do have a question. Now that we know that the field may be oriented differently, I wonder if it's like going to be north to south fighting as opposed to east to west like last year.
they didn't include a map with this one, so this is going to be some of the things that need to be worked out so that there's not mass confusion day of.
Yeah, but I do feel like the north-south is a little different because it's the uphill is towards the castle. So I don't know.
Yeah, that northwest corner is high ground.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we've done north-south at least once in the past.
Yeah, the one year we had rotating battles where each one rotated 90 degrees.
Yeah, the water bearers hated that, by the way. They were like,
Correct.
you can't find them like in between bouts.
Right. It largely cut off water bearing.
Yeah.
That battle as one of the side, behaviors of the battle.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed it, but yeah, I understand that. And now that I'm a little bit older, maybe I wouldn't enjoy it. Maybe I'd want to be closer to my shade and the water. By the way, they do that at Golf Wars, I think, every year. But Golf Wars is a much smaller field, much smaller battle. But it does make it a little bit interesting. And then on to the Rapier Field battle.
So
Mael, you
we
wanna take
actually
that
have the size. We get a 400 by 400 field. It's last fighter standing, spears and passes 2 and 4 only. And we've got an exhibition bouts that'll happen before battles 2 and 4. To be fought by the heirs of the 4 principal kingdoms. So if an heir is not available, a champion can be chosen to fight in their place. So they get to go out and they get to have a duel before their respective armies. And last time we did this, the side that won got to start immediately, and the other side had to wait 5 seconds, which is a huge deal for us, the 5-second delay. But it's not specified if that's a condition this year.
Right. So it seems like that is out of the rules, and it's just a quick little exhibition fight, and then the battle begins.
Okay.
Are all of the principal kingdoms, or all of the heirs authorized fencers? I mean, I know the East is.
Well, yeah, it was a rapier crown.
Yeah.
So our princess currently is. I'm unsure if His Highness is going to before Pennsic or not. But I know Her Highness is, because she fought in the rapier battles last year also.
What about Atlanta? You have any idea, Teagn?
I don't know.
Maybe the heir.
I don't know if, you know what? I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not going to speculate because I don't know.
Like you said, they can always pick a champion. So.
Right.
So awesome. And that would be a 5-point battle. So Friday is 10 points. Scrolling through here. So we've already covered archery, thrown weapons. You covered A&S. Do we get everything?
I believe so.
Service war point?
Yeah.
Service war point?
Yeah, there's a service war point. And I believe typically that ends either on Wednesday or on Thursday. So that they can tabulate all the hours that everybody contributed towards service.
So how does the service war point work?
That's a great question. Usually, information point is part of it. Doing watch is part of it. Teaching classes is typically part of it.
Yeah, it's on the last page. So taking a class, teaching a class, serving at heraldry point, newcomer point, family point, doing shift watch, doing shift for gate, helping out with the children's water battle, or sponsoring an event. Yep. And it's calculated between Sunday and Friday of war week.
And so it goes up to Friday?
Looks like it.
All right. So I'm reading through the questions here, make sure we got all the questions answered. We did not ramble on enough.
We got 8 minutes to go. So What's your favorite part about the battles, Barry?
Oh, my favorite part about the battles, or my favorite battle used to be the Allied Champs battle, but I'm not allowed to do that anymore because I'm an East Kingdom Shiv. So it's then the Woods battle. My favorite parts is literally just fighting. I just enjoy the fighting. There's nothing fancy about that. I want to pass that question on to Teagn.
Yeah, I still say I think the field battle because it feels like the most medievally brave-hearty to me. So, and
You ever died of dysentery in a field battle?
No, but I have been killed by arrows very early on, as you know. No, I just think it's like where the armies really get to shine.
Yeah, you got killed by a dark yard arrow. I remember.
I did.
We told you not to get too close. Someone from Dark Yard fired this arrow all the way across the field and it managed to hit Teagn.
Wow. For me, I don't know. I like a little bit of everything. The fields are, you get to see this mass movement of the armies as a whole, kind of working, and you see different parts of it. It's like you can see the moving parts of the army. I like the woods because I like to run, and there's a lot of stuff that it's constantly changing in the woods. Bridges are all-time favorite with the Legion. Just it's a fun experience to have the shield wall up at the front and enjoy some of that.
I like stabbing shield walls in the front. I don't like getting run over by them though.
No.
Yeah. Mael and Prudence, what about your favorite?
The woods battle for sure, because it's shaded for one.
Good point.
That's true.
I just really like the being in the woods that time, just woods time.
You know, back in the way back, the woods used to be a little bit longer. So you know where we load in and you have to like walk your stuff up to the resurrection point. Well, that grass used to be where the resurrection point was. So when you died, you had to walk all the way down that hill.
Oof.
And then go back to the battle. Yeah, it was a lot more of a marathon. Of course, we were all younger back then. I mean that literally. Like someone loaded up some YouTube videos of like VHS camcorder footage from like 1992 and 1993. And I was amazed at how fast everybody was running in those battles. They called lay on and just everybody was sprinting across the field. Now we have like a long, deliberate mosey across the field. So
my favorite's been the woods, and the close on second for that is anything we do out on the field with a MacGuffin.
Yeah, the Resurrection Town battles, that it's more than just a field. Things like bridges and buildings and obstacles to get around. Those are fun.
For those of us who don't speak rapier, what's a MacGuffin?
Hold on, wait. You don't speak movie. You don't speak. Go ahead. I was going to ask the same question.
Yes. So the MacGuffin is any object that's the point of the game. So you got to go out and you got to claim the keg and do the thing with the keg. You've got to travel across the galaxy and find the last Jedi. You've got to,
throw the one ring in the
throw the one ring into the fire.
The one ring would be the MacGuffin.
Yeah. So the MacGuffin is like you said, like in film, it's the object of interest in the film. So Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's the Ark is the MacGuffin. So now is that a term that you guys use in the rapier community, or is that specifically a Mael and Prudence term?
No, it's we do use it in the rapier community, at least here in the middle.
It has become a rapier term.
I will take full blame for that if necessary.
He's used it enough.
Yeah, that's more interesting. I always call it an objective. I'm like, oh, I've got a bunch of objectives here. And they're like, what's an objective? It's like, I don't know, a sheep. We're catching sheep today. That's boring. All right, they're pigs. Oh, that's more interesting. Here you go. It's a sawed off piece of 2x4 with some paint on it. Yeah. I'm sorry. I know I'm only rambling because we got a little bit more time left. One year, we literally like little 2x4 blocks of wood. We would paint them, and I toyed with the idea of we would have events with household friends of ours. They're always on the other team, Galatia, and I was going to get those blocks of wood, and I was going to put the little screwy thing underneath it for like dog. Like if you're going to put your dog leash like attached to the ground. I was going to like try to attach them into the ground so when they went running and grab them, they wouldn't be able to pull them up. We talked about that, or give him like camouflage, blocks while we have the brightly colored ones.
That doesn't sound chivalrous, Sir Barry.
That's why they knighted me. They're like, stop doing that. You have to be chivalrous now. Stop doing that.
Years ago, for a local event, the armored guys were going to do a sheep raid, so they actually sewed and stuffed sheep for the raid, like a dozen of them, I think, somewhere in there.
I don't know. There's still a bunch in the storage unit.
They're in the storage unit. We can count them sometime.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
There's a question in the chat about Coach's Corner classes during Peace Week.
So Tuesday through Friday, we're going to have Coach's Corner classes from on the schedule. It is 12 till 5, I believe. 12 to 4. I booked it and I do not remember. I apologize, but I believe it was it's either 12 to 4 or 12 to 5. And the schedule will get posted. We're still working on who's teaching what classes, but classes every day, pickups every day. Some live streaming from the field so that that people are out there doing the fighting, and everybody come out and enjoy if you can get out there for some fighting on Peace Week.
I got to say, last year I fought during Peace Week. No, actually, I fought it's going to be during War Week too. I think I fought on a Wednesday during War Week. I fought Duke Sven, and I fought I guess now King Winfang. And I had some advice was given to me and told me some things I was doing, et cetera, et cetera. And then when I got back, I still refer to it every now and then. Like there's a video that Brando's captured with a high camera that captured that entire field. And I can still go back to that video and see like the specific things I was doing that they were talking about. So, that's kind of a nice feature when you go to do the pickups is that, sometimes they'll grab a video of it. So not only is it streaming live, but you can go back to it later and see, find yourself in there and see exactly what you're doing. Especially at Pennsic, where it's like, you're going to fight people that are from all over the known world. You may not get, a chance to fight again. So, all right. With that, we're 9:30. So, is it time to wrap this up? Anybody have any final thoughts? I'll give my final thoughts. Pennsic is awesome. I've been to like 25 of them, something like that, 25 or 26. So please come out and enjoy. Teagn, anything you want to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say that Purple Pennsic is special. The last one happened in 2017, so it could be another 8 years. Probably not. It won't be 8 years before another one, but they certainly don't happen regularly. So get to take advantage of fighting in more things. And I would also plug it's hot. So start your heat training now.
Wear your sunscreen.
Yeah. Sunscreen, sun hat. Sun hats are nice. Mael and Prudence, got any final thoughts other than sunscreen?
Water. Drink water too.
Drink water. If you're coming to Pennsic and it's your first time and you've got people that are coming with you and it's going to be their first time and they can't necessarily fight, the first year I went to Pennsic, I didn't do any fighting, but I was there and I carried water for the armored fighters when they were out fighting. And it was a great way to actually see the battles and be close enough to really kind of see some things and to meet people. So anyone new coming out to it, I suggest that to them, is to come up and help out with water.
Yeah, that's actually a good way to kind of like ingratiate yourself with like a group of people too. Maybe if you have like a camp or something. I remember we had some specific people that we got to know them because they came out and gave water. And that's, next time you saw them at a party that night, you would go right up and talk to them and introduce them to your friends and stuff, just because you had a little bit of a connection with them.
I got a proposal on the field.
Yeah. So, Not only should you, if you're a new person, should you bring water, you should help the fighters carry their armor. That would be a good thing. If you can cook in camp, or if you help people set up their tents and take them down, these are all wonderful things to do, and they're amazing. They're just a good time.
Yeah.
Earl Louis.
Yep. I would say go out and do all the things. I'm going to go out and do armored and rapier, and there's classes. There's all kinds of exciting things to do. Go have fun. Be safe.
Awesome. With that, everyone have an awesome Pennsic, and thank you, and good night. Guillaume, take us out, please.
Thanks, everybody. Okay.